Hiya, and welcome back to Derry. I haven't liked a show this much since Alien Earth. Oh no! I hope this turns out a little bit better. I sure hope that you recently watched the It movies or remember them, or some of these gags aren't gonna land. That's interesting. I do think whether or not, I watched them immediately after I watched my 5 episodes that they gave me in advance, but I hadn't watched the It movies since they'd come out, and I still ended up really liking this. So it's exciting. I think it's funny and somewhat aggressive that this show is dropping right before Stranger Things, because it feels a lot like Stranger Things. But if Stranger Things was made by a demented pervert, and I mean that in a good way. This show is absolutely disgusting, highly inappropriate. It's very inappropriate. It is definitely rated R. Features, it's not like, I think a lot of its ideas are inappropriate. It's a good way to describe it. It has an insane kill count, and overall, it's knocking futz. That's what they should put on the tagline. Welcome to Derry. It's knocking futz. And I absolutely adore this show. Another great way to put it is that Welcome to Derry is to kids being terrorized what The Boys is to superhero stories. And on that note, The Boys is just so extreme in every possible way that it makes every other similar story seem tame by comparison. And I do wonder if Welcome to Derry will have the same effect. Now, I had felt that Alien Earth was I'm burned bad by Alien Earth, boy. If Pennywise wants to scare me, he should be my early excitement for Alien Earth. Be like, oh, this show's going to be great, Grace. Everyone's going to watch it. And I'll be like, oh, no. All right, so now I had felt that Alien Earth would trend every week with its shocking scenes and great use of the franchise lore. But it didn't. No one cared, or they hated it. And because it just ended up not being enough, right? From franchise expansion to alien action. And I think a lot of Alien fans found it downright offensive. However, what Welcome to Derry has going for it is that it's not just an HBO show, but a Sunday night HBO show. And being part of that must-see TV tradition, that watch-along, will hopefully help it. Oh, watch it when it airs. You don't want spoilers. Now, this show, again, I think is designed very much to trend and air weekly. I worry now everybody prefers, people say they prefer a binge, but then they say they want a weekly so people can talk about the show. Otherwise, if it's a binge, nobody's talking about it and people feel neglected as fans. But I hope this generates that kind of discussion. Although, to be fair, I got to binge it as a critic. I got the first 5 of 8 episodes. So let's discuss without spoilers. Now, to truly appreciate this show, you really need to know your Stephen King. You don't have to, but you know what's good about this show? It'll make you want to. Especially the history of Derry, and I would say a couple other big, iconic Stephen King stories that if you're at all into movies and TV, you're probably aware of already. I know, homework. I think you should, if you really want to experience the show correctly, you should rewatch or watch for the first time, where have you been? It, and yes, even It Chapter 2. I'm sorry you have to, because Welcome to Derry has as many Easter eggs as this red balloons scene. It's fantastic. Oh, I loved it. But if you don't have that time, or just in addition, don't worry. I got you. I'm going to be doing breakdowns every Sunday night. I wasn't even sure I was going to cover this show. But as I watched the episodes, I was like, there is just too much good stuff to discuss. I've already taken copious notes. I was doing my research while I just did my first watch through. Should I wear the makeup every Sunday? I don't know. It's a lot, but it's fun. And this show is a lot. So maybe it fits. You guys can let me know what you think down below. But be sure to subscribe so that you know as soon as my breakdowns go up every Sunday night. I think one of the things that I really love about It Welcome to Derry, and that I think balances out the horror really nicely, is that the show is actually also super cozy. It's so cozy. It's like a mug of hot chocolate, and then there's something gross in it while you're drinking, and you're like, oh, that's that's a great way to describe it. Welcome to Derry. You're like, what'd you put in my hot chocolate, man? A little kick and something disgusting. Like if there was like booze and a hairball in your hot chocolate, but in a good way. All right, so you know what it reminded me of as well? Back to the Future with the Hill Valley vibes. You know how throughout the trilogy, you would see Hill Valley at different times and it would reflect upon itself, like there were through lines? Same thing here, and that's just really good. Stephen King has given Derry a rich history. Many of his stories have taken place here or referenced it, and the creative team on this show has done their homework. They make very good use of it. It's one of those shows, I mean, I thought Alien Earth was, but it's one of those shows where if you know you're Stephen King, you will be rewarded. You'll be like, oh, I feel so fuzzy and warm. All right, now remember, Pennywise reemerged every 27 years, and the recent films moved up the timeline. So, you know, from the book had come out in the 80s, so that was the current timeline. But the movie, that came out in like the late 2000 teens, so they moved everything up to make it seem current. So It Chapter 2 took place in 2016, It Chapter 1 in 1989, and then this show takes place in 1962. And there are some little Easter eggs going into the show to get you excited so we can discuss them here. Oh, so one of the key storylines with this show is the arrival of the Hanlon family in Derry, with Leroy Hanlon coming to work on a nearby army base that's popped up on a top secret project. Oh, as I said, very Stranger Things. There's his wife, Charlotte, and their son, Will Hanlon, who, of course, has a son of his own, Mike Hanlon, from the movies. And so, as you might recall, Will and his wife eventually die in that fire. And Mike is raised by his grandparents, again, these characters. Now, clearly, when the Muschiettis made their movies, they did not know at that time that they were going to develop the Hanlon family in this way, because the two characters don't reconcile, the two versions of Leroy don't reconcile whatsoever. But this new version is very cool. I'm excited to talk to you about some of the things that they've done with the character that I think are really great choices. Oh, it's great. Another character who's been revealed already for the show and who's also working on this top secret army project is Dick Hallorann, from The Shining. Oh my God. I am so excited about this because The Shining is my favorite horror movie of all time. Love it. And I'm also a huge fan of actor Chris Chalk. From his work on the Perry Mason Show, that's where you've seen him most recently, also for HBO, make friends with the executives at the network so they bring you back. And he, of course, was also back in the day on Gotham as Lucius Fox. I'm not going to ruin anything about this because this is the non-spoiler review, but I will tell you that this show could not make better use of Dick Hallorann. It does not disappoint. Now, of course, you can't have a show in Derry without a lot of kids. You know, it's funny, when I was watching It Chapter 2, there was the scene where Pennywise is trying to scare at the skateboard James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain. And they're like, and Jessica Chastain's like, should we run? And James McAvoy says, it's Derry. I'm kind of getting used to it. And it made me realize that an adult would eventually adapt and be like, bring it on, Pennywise. I mean, they still got pretty scared in It Chapter 2. Pennywise is a professional scarer, thank you very much. And apparently maybe has a psychologist. You know, he's a little Harley Quinn-like. You know, he really knows how to get under your skin. That's something they should play up more with Harley now that I think about it. You know, she's always helping people, but maybe she should use her psychiatrist background to maybe be a little bit more effective. They made her a little bit too much of a hero. Anyway. All right. So yeah, but the kids, it's harder for a kid to deal with their fears, which I guess is why, and their fear maybe is so pure and high and like potent. And maybe that's why they're Pennywise's snack of choice. Now, these kids here might not call themselves the Losers Club, but they definitely are having a tough time in school and in life. They definitely fit with that that relatability that I think, everybody can kind of relate to a little bit, which is why this story is so effective. The casting on the show, particularly with the kids, is incredible. Not only are the kids here great actors, but they really pop on the screen visually, from each of their looks to the way the costume and hair and makeup department really play it up for the 1960s, the early 1960s. The opening credits for the show, I can't wait for you to see them. They debut with episode 2. They have a distinct Jack and Jill illustrated 1960s children's book feel. But the show itself in live action captures that same quality. I told you. So cozy. And then until it's not, HBO has forbidden from saying anything specific about any of the kids for fear that we might give something away. I can't single any of them out. There's just a lot of kids because there are a lot of surprises, and I think they should be maintained because these kids are about to really be put through the ringer. Whew! So yes, Pennywise, the shapeshifter, is in the story from the very beginning. Look for the telltale roaming eye. Or is it this one? I think it's this one. The telltale roaming eye. Look for it. And Bill Skarsgard, by the way, does naturally. That's not a visual effect with him. But the visual effects team is like, let's go to town with that boy. But Skarsgard does show up eventually. And I'm also forbidden from telling you when he shows up. But he does show up. I can tell you that in a meaningful way. It's not something where they're saving him for the last episode in season 2. He's in season 1. All right, now I want to talk about the creators of this show because this gets crazy too. So obviously, Andy Muschietti and his sister/producer Barbara are back. This is their show. And they are a huge driving force creatively. Barbara behind the scenes is a producer, but Andy directed all the episodes that I watched, the first 5. And he did an absolutely amazing job. He was so good. Yes, It Chapter 2 was bad. It's as bad as you remember, especially the second half. But I just rewatched it to cover this show. It's funny. I watched them after I watched the 5 episodes. I was like, I better do some homework. There's a lot here. And I found it very rewarding. So if you watch if you watch the first episode of Welcome to Derry and you too are like, wait, this is actually a party, you can then go and rewatch the 2 movies that are also available on Next. Well, corporate synergy, Zazie loves it. All right, so but there were good moments in It Chapter 2. There are still some nice moments, and also It Chapter 1, that holds up beautifully. That was so good. Then, of course, also Andy Muschietti directed The Flash, which I and James Gunn both really enjoyed. But it got so raked across the coals that even though Gunn signed Andy Muschietti to direct his Gunverse Batman movie, things have gone pretty silent on that front. Maybe they're waiting for Welcome to Derry to hit, right? Maybe it'll go the way of The Flash and Alien Earth. I'm real nervous. No. But I hope this show is a big hit. I think it deserves to be a big hit and to remind people of how good a director Andy Muschietti is. Welcome to Derry, I think, is movie-level storytelling. Really, really strong. It's just an 8-hour movie. So was Alien Earth, but that's another great thing. Just like, Hulu doesn't get enough credit for it, but these aren't half-hour episodes, like you see in the Marvel and DC space. Even The Boys, sometimes those episodes are a little short. All the episodes, at least that I saw, were an hour, like 50 minutes plus at least. Some of them were a little over an hour. It was glorious. It was glorious. I watched 4 episodes in a day, but it took me most of my day. It was so delightful. Now, get this. The showrunners on Welcome to Derry are Jason Fuchs. The showrunners are Andy and Barbara have other things to do. Maybe they're working on their Batman movie. So they're showrunners who are they're in television. There's somebody who has to maintain the creative consistency because there's the same director for all these episodes, but usually there's different directors and writers per episode. So there's showrunners. So one is Jason Fuchs, who wrote Ice Age Continental Drift, which weirdly is referenced in Alien Earth. And then Brad Kane, who, get this, is the singing voice of Disney's Aladdin, the original singing voice of Disney's Aladdin. Look, Kane and Fuchs both have very long resumes with legit credits on them, but these credits specifically, I find a real hoot. So I'm very excited about It, Welcome to Derry, if you couldn't tell already. And I'm thrilled that this show is getting the HBO Sunday Nights spotlight. Maybe that'll make the difference. It's not only the time slot and the tradition, but the prestige. Although the Penguin suffered in viewership, but it got the respect. I think we're going to have a great time watching this show together, so be sure to tune in for my breakdowns after each episode. And remember to subscribe and hit that little bell so that you know the YouTube app will tell you when my episode has gone up. Also, again, sorry, this is a show about school and kids, so there's homework. I strongly recommend rewatching, or again, watching for the first time, It Chapter 1, and you gotta do it, It Chapter 2. Brush up on the history of Derry if you'd like, and if you have time, you might want to rewatch The Shining as well. I'm just saying. But don't worry again. I got you. I'm going to catch you up on all the Easter eggs. I'll take care of this. But if you want to start to make those connections yourself while you're watching, that will help. It's interesting. Castle Rock on Hulu, also with Bill Skarsgard, by the way, interestingly enough, brought to life the world of Stephen King as well. But it only did okay. It only lasted 2 seasons. They said that's all they planned to do, but nobody stops making a hit show, particularly after only 2 seasons. I don't remember anyone talking about Castle Rock, do you, after its debut? Everybody was excited about it, and then we saw it, and I stopped watching after about just 2 to 3 episodes. I didn't even remember there was a season 2. Did you watch Castle Rock? What did you think of it? Stephen King can be real hit or miss, but when his material is adapted just right, it's horror magic, and I believe this is one of those cases. So see you on Sunday nights, starting this Sunday. Oh boy, the first episode, by the way, is an absolute doozy. You do not want to miss it. You should watch it when it airs so you can be part of the party, but also so you don't have it spoiled for you. You might be like, okay, it's a little crazy. No, you need to experience it with everybody else. It's good. I hope it's not spoiled for you. Please watch it when it airs. Also, fair warning, as I said, this show is absolutely disgusting. So I highly recommend. Also, I got a lot of recommendations for you, but this one's important. Have your dinner before the show. I made the mistake of trying to eat while I watched the first episode, and I thought to myself, this was a mistake. You can save your dessert or snacks for the show, but I wouldn't eat your dinner while watching it. All right, so that's my non-spoiler review of Welcome to Derry. Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can watch another episode right now.